A hook is one of the more powerful and difficult to see techniques that you can add to your arsenal. Unlike the jab punch or the cross punch, a hook comes from a side or a blind spot as opposed to coming straight at you, which makes it much more difficult to predict and dodge in time. Just like any other technique, there are many ways of throwing a hook. The way that I like to do it comes from analyzing the target, which in my case is the chin. It is one of the weakest spots on the human head and it leads to the quickest knockout. A lot of times you will see and you will be taught to throw a hook whereas your striking hand is parallel to the floor, which means it would be pretty much on a horizontal line. If you are aiming at a chin, to me this does not make sense. If you look at the human chin line, you will notice that it is most certainly not a vertical line. It is somewhere between 35 and 45 degrees angle. This to me means that if you want to create the biggest impact without breaking your knuckles, the best way of doing it is to create the largest impact surface. So how to do it, you ask? Well, you would inevitably have to angle up while throwing the hook so that the knuckles of your fist and your opponent's chin are at the same angle. There are two major ways to throw a hook. One way is to use your lead hand and the other way is to use your rear hand. Due to the different reach, it is best to use your front hand for an offense and your rear one for a defense. When you throw a hook using your lead hand, there are a lot of moving parts you need to consider. Make sure to keep your chin down so that at the moment of throwing the lead hand hook, your shoulder would cover one side of your chin and your rear hand could cover the other. Use your back muscles in addition to using your arm and chest, which can be done by adding a significant hip rotation to the technique. When throwing a lead hand hook, both of your feet will pivot. The front one will have a greater pivot than the rear one. In addition, there should be a slight transference of weight to the rear foot at the moment of impact. The heel of the front foot will then come up and the heel of the rear foot will go down. This will give you balance and the necessary power for the lead hook. The other way of throwing a hook is using your rear hand. When you throw a rear hand hook, the movements will be very similar to those of a cross punch. And by that I mean your hip rotation and your feet pivoting is gonna be virtually the same as in a cross punch. Make sure that one of your shoulders will be covering one side of the chin, and with your lead hand as you throw this hook, you should cover the other side of your chin for maximum protection. While throwing this hook, put in a good twist of your hip for added power and reach. Avoid leaning forward and remember to turn on your axis. Your stance should be slightly wider than usual, and when you throw the rear hand hook, push off and pivot with your rear foot significantly. Practice throwing hooks both ways until you can do so with strong balance, coordination, and ease. Now that we learned some basic punches, let's go to our next lecture and learn some combinations. Oh yeah, this will be fun!